In this episode, I'm going to walk you through how we installed our concealed faucets in our DIY Master Bathroom Remodel. We're going to start with building up our faucet bodies with our 1/2-inch PEX adapters. I believe the bodies of both our faucets are identical. However, the one that came with our tub one I did mark with electrical tape just in case. We're going to start with 5 wraps of our Teflon tape on each of our adapters, and then we're going to also put some joint compound on them just for some added security. With these being in the walls, I don't want to have any leaks. Now that they're all tightened down, we're going to wipe off any excess joint compound so it doesn't make a mess. Now moving on to our vanity faucet, we're going to go ahead and cut out this 2x6 stud with a relief so that we can put a backer in, because it's going to be right in the middle of where our faucet's going to go. I'm not worried about integrity on this wall. It is doubled up with a 2x4 wall and it's non-load bearing. Both of my rafters are about a foot offset from this wall. It's basically just for plumbing and drywall. I'm not too concerned with getting our backer board perfectly level, seeing as how I'm going to level the valve itself when we install it. I am more concerned with getting the depth correct so we get the proper reveal for our valve, and I'm taking in consideration our 1/2-inch drywall as well. So as I'm mounting this, I'm going to be checking my depth to make sure we get it perfect. I also put a screw here in the middle to pull it into the proper depth as well. We're going to mount our valve exactly in the middle of where we want our vanity. We'll have a little leeway when we put the vanity in to go left or right, and we'll make sure our drain matches exactly with this faucet. Moving on to add in blocking for our stub out for our toilet valve. We're going with 6 inches off center from the drain, and then also 6 inches up off the floor, which I think I did 6 1/4 to take into consideration my tile. And we just screw our bracket in, and I got these nifty little things that just clamp down on this copper. And then we'll just hook it to our PEX. Moving on to our tub faucet, we're going to have to cut out a couple of studs here. The easier part with this being a 2x4 stud instead of a 2x6, we can just cut the whole thing out and put a 2x4 flat against the drywall on the back side to give us our proper reveal. There's a couple of things we're having to take into consideration here. The biggest one is what's going to be the finish height of our tub deck, because we want to come about 6 inches above that. And then another 6 inches above our faucet is where we want to install a recessed electric fireplace. So we're going to cut out these studs to make room for that. And then also the electrical you see there, we're going to have to move that in a later episode when we do all our electrical. Our tub is going to be a lot less forgiving for placement of this faucet than our vanity is, so we got to make sure we get this one perfect. We went ahead and dry fit our fixtures just to see how they would look. And this tub filler sticks out pretty far, but it is pretty secure, and I haven't even tightened down the locking nut yet. And our faucet, it's looking pretty good. We want to make sure we have enough clearance underneath to actually wash our hands, and that it actually looks pretty good. Now that we have everything permanently mounted, it's time to start running our supply lines. For our tub faucet, we're just going to come off where our vanity was, and we're just going to run over to it with our PEX. And being that this is going to be back behind the tub, we don't have to run it in the wall because there won't be any backer board back there. Now with the tub plumbed in, it's time to move over to our vanity. We're just going to be using some of these shark bite connectors to hook into our existing plumbing that runs to our wash machine. I made a mistake here and started cutting my hot side again instead of the cold side to hook it to the faucet. So we'll have to go back and repair that in just a second. I have one of those shark bite unions. We'll just put that in there. Once we're done pushing together our connectors, I'll go ahead and resecure my screw plate just so I don't forget. We went ahead and teed off for our toilet supply line and got that all plumbed in on the cold side of our faucet, and then we finished hooking that all together, and then we move on to our main supply lines that we send over to our double valves and redo all the plumbing in the wall that's behind our hot water heater. We've been having problems with this copper piping in this wall for years now. We keep springing leaks. If you go back to our demo video, you can see that when we did our demo, we found a leak we didn't even know we had. So hopefully this will alleviate some of the issues so we won't have to worry about it. I think my biggest concern here is making sure I don't mix up my hot and cold supply lines that go over to our double shower valves, because I've been known to do things like that in the past. We're just going to use a couple of those bracket hold downs, kind of the same that we used for the toilet valve. These are just 3/4 inch instead of 1/2 inch. We had to cut out a little bit bigger section, and we just secure them to the stud. Now with all of our plumbing hooked up, we're going to go ahead and pressurize the system, and we'll check for leaks. With our water turned back on, I went ahead and flushed all of our valves and all of our lines just to make sure there's no debris in them, and then we reinstalled our test plugs, and then we leave the system pressurized, and it'll be pressurized probably for a couple of weeks while I'm doing the rest of my concrete work and everything, just to check for leaks before we actually start sealing everything up. You can see here I did install a couple of brackets on the bottom of the faucet housing. These things stick out. One's like 9 inches, one's like 13 inches. They're pretty sturdy right now, but I thought I'd just do this while the walls are open, just to give me some extra security in there so I don't have to worry about it in the future in case somebody pushes down or pulls on that. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for our next episode where we tackle our electrical rough-in.